all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be free from harm. May all beings love life. May all beings awaken. Welcome to another Cuke Audio Podcast. I'm DC, Poobah of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, doing our bit to help preserve the legacy of Shunryu Suzuki and those whose paths cross his, and anything else that comes to mind. I pray that you and yours are safe and comfortable, free from economic hardship, and able to get out and do whatever it is you want within the limitations of the universal precept of do as little harm as possible. So today we have a guest, one Rhonda Johansen Karzag. Rhonda is the daughter of Toni and Toni Johansen, who were, came to Zen Center in 1965. And Rhonda was born about then. Yeah, I think she was born in 1962. Yeah, she was born in 1962. When she was was at Tassajara, I think the summers of 1969, 1970, and 1971 with her parents. And in 1970 and 1971, there were a lot of kids. And there was a sort of child care, pretty loose, run by pretty much Lynn Warkoff and Toni, T-O-N-I, the female Johansen. The other parents participated somewhat, but they were involved with, their work at Tassajara. But the kids were fairly free. And she talks about what it was like then. They had they sewed rakusus and had an ordination. They had a zazen instruction. Mainly they went swimming. They went to the Narrows every 5 days. And, they loved the baths in the creek. And they worked in the garden, and sometimes it'd be in the kitchen and different things. We've already interviewed Lynn Warkoff, and we've interviewed Toni Johansen. But now let's hear it from the kid's point of view, although she's not a kid anymore, as you will hear. But when we're through talking to her, she's going to read from her notebook, from her autobiography, actually, that she was assigned to write in school in the 4th grade. And she wrote it about what it had been like being at Tassajara and Zen Center, mostly about Tassajara. And so it's pretty neat. Also, it's on cuke.com. So you can go there and search for Johansen, Johansen. It's linked to, right now, her notebook or autobiography, the excerpts about Tassajara and Zen Center are linked to from her mother's page, Toni Johansen. We didn't have to type it out or anything. It's very legible. It's very well done. Actually, it was very dim. She went over it with pen recently so she could scan it and send it to us. I suggest you consider reading it while you listen to her. Anyway, pretty neat. I think you'll enjoy it. It's unique. After we've had our pause to meditate, we'll give her a call. And then, that's going to be the normal podcast guest thing. Then when we're through with that, we'll say goodbye. And then we'll call her back again, which was weeks later or a month later, and she'll read from her notebook, because she had to prepare it, because the whole idea about doing it came from her talking about it in the podcast. Okay, so they're joined together. So, so as soon as we've had our pause to meditate, we'll give Rhonda Johansen Karzag a call.
Hi, David.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing okay.
Good.
Yes, indeed. How are you?
Okay. So, you are now being recorded.
All right.
If you have anything you want to say off the record, just say it now, because I can take it out.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess not.
Yeah,
I
good.
mean, I think,
Well,
yeah.
anyway, it's great talking with you. I don't think I've seen you since, well, 71,
Okay.
around then.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so
No wonder I only have the vague recollection of you. I mean, I know who you are over the years with your work.
yeah.
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 So, but, yeah.
So you're living in Santa Barbara, and
Yes.
well, what do you do? What are you up to these days?
Well, I'm officially retired from being a registered dietitian. My throat's a little dry, so I've got lozenges in my mouth here. I hope that's not obscuring things. But I'm not. I worked for years at the VA in Reno with the veterans, with their helping with their meals and nutrition, and you know how that goes when people have had surgery and they need extra help. But now I'm just leisurely taking care of mom and being an artist. And so doing painting, and which I started when I was young, and then got away from, the college and work, and so it's really fun to have the time to get back into it.
Yeah, well, that's neat.
Yeah.
Where were you born?
Berkeley, California, 1962. Yes.
62.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, and so you have a brother. It's one brother, right?
Two. I have two.
Two brothers.
I'm the oldest, and so yeah, there's me, and then there's Aaron, who's 14 months younger, and Philip, who is about 5 years younger than me. So yeah. So it wasn't long after I was born that my parents had found Suzuki Roshi. So and yeah, not long.
Yeah, 62. Yeah, Toni started in, I think she said 65.
Her memory with numbers, she's so smart, but numbers aren't her thing.
Right.
I do know for sure when we were at Tassajara, because I know exactly what grade I was in, blah, blah. So,
yeah. What are your memories? What are your earliest memories of Zen Center and Tassajara and Suzuki and other people and?
Well, yes. So that would be 68, I believe it is, because I was 6. And my earliest memory was exciting when going to Tassajara. We were living in Sawyer's Bar, little town, and we went to Tassajara, and I remember, will this winding road ever end? When you're little, and things are like, I'm like, another turn? And I don't, I haven't been back as an adult, so I don't know, but I just remember thinking that. And then, when we got there, I thought, wow, this is great. Swimming pool and the beautiful creek right next to the cabins and the peace of it all, peace and quiet, and really enjoying myself. On that first summer, I don't have as many memories, but I do distinctly remember the gruel. I mean, we had student food, and I just wasn't, kids can be a little picky, and so just I guess the tradition was mixing morning meal with noon, which is nice way not to waste and everything. So evening meal did not go over too well with me. And then my mom arranged for the kids to be able to eat some guest food, not in the guest dining room, but on the back porch. So that was nice. Because I don't mind vegetarian, but I just had a little problem with the mixture thing going on there. So anyhow, so it was a good when there's other kids to play with, and every day it seemed like. To tell everybody, I had at the end of the 3 years of the Senate Tassajara, happened to be assigned this writing autobiography at the age of 9, and so I have some more details I think that I might remember. And so I wrote down that we went to the pool every day, and then that beautiful swimming hole, I guess the Narrows.
Right.
That we would go there about every 5 days. And I just remember seeing my little baby brother, like on my dad's back, head on the trail. And that trail, of course, was way too long, too. Let's get to the Narrows. And so I just loved it. It was all very impatient.
Yeah.
That hasn't changed. But, yeah, so the beautiful sliding down that, the slide there that you can do at the Narrows. And I had fortunately learned to swim by then. And so that was just phenomenal. And I remember that whole bathhouse with the with the creek and then the hot springs and the divided men from women. And I'm like, maybe they should have made those little fences go down a little lower to the water. But couldn't see. It was funny. But so it was all fascinating to me, and I was very, very impressed, let me tell you, with the guest rooms, because I don't know if at that point Mom was cleaning them, but in any event, I was in some guest rooms, and I'm like, wow, the guest rooms are just phenomenal, and I was so impressed with their food, and I made this, wrote down that they have to pay between $14 and $34 a night. So,
right,
beautiful rooms, and they get their soap changed. I was fascinated by it all, but I didn't feel deprived with our cabin at all. I made a note, that it was plenty big because our meals were eaten there, and it was interesting with the kerosene lamps to me, but I wasn't, afraid of that at all, and. Overall, just that first summer positive experience, and yeah. So and just it's later that the real impact came on me, but was the essence of Suzuki Roshi. I mean, I have his book here on my altar, and he has more the Zen mind, beginner's mind, and the joy and the essence and the humility that even as a child that I picked up on, and the safety and the non-judgmental feeling I got from him was just, it's very emotional to this day. And so we went back the second summer, and that would be, 69, and that was fairly similar to our first summer there at Tassajara. And the funny thing is when we came back from that first summer, my dad came back with a shaved head, and he was teaching a one-room schoolhouse in sort of his bar along with my mom, and so the kids were calling him Mr. Bone. That was his nickname. And so we went back the second summer, and it was real similar, except my grandmother came to visit for a couple of weeks, so that was fun. Yeah, she came. And then the summer that really I have the most memories is when I was 8, so I guess that would be 1970. And I just remember, well, the big thrill when you're an 8-year-old is being able to bring my guinea pig. I got my pets, and we were allowed to have them outside pen. And my dad was a pretty good carpenter, and he built a little shed, and I had my guinea pig. And then we had our school with Lynn Warkov and my mom doing that. And although we were back to student food, we got these special treats after we did our chores. And so at that era, it was somewhat of a let the kids do their own thing type of deal, but they did assign us chores, which I remember, like weeding in the garden and helping with tea in the kitchen. I remember being in the kitchen just being fascinated by that big kitchen. And
now in 1970, how do you remember the kitchen?
How do I remember
what
just
was it the same kitchen? Was it the small kitchen? Or was it the new kitchen?
I think it might have been new. I just remember being impressed by it. And, of course, I was very short, so all the counters were too high for me to really be much of help. I don't know.
Now you say all the counters. The reason I'm asking you this is because I have people that absolutely remember that still being in the small kitchen in 70, and I have people that absolutely remember us moving to the big kitchen. The big kitchen was much bigger. It had a high ceiling with post and beam. It was made out of stone. It had many counters. It had a dishwashing area. It had a big slab sycamore central table, for working on.
That's what I thought, but I'm so young that maybe even the little one would impress me, but I thought there was...
What do you remember? Do you remember any change? Like 68 and 69, we were definitely in the small kitchen.
And yes, I don't remember doing a lot of kitchen chores prior to that final. I may have, so I guess I'm not a very good source on that. I just remember I said I would go help a gentleman named Jeff help make a tea in the kitchen, and
making tea in the kitchen.
Yeah, something like help with the tea in the kitchen. Yeah, I just wrote that down. It was overall it was just very, very good experience, and then being able to be part of the services. I mean, I remember being in the Zendo and being fast, and I was always so hard on myself about don't make mistakes. So being sure to gasho and like do things right, not say anything, but fascinated by those. I don't know the words for it, but the little drums and the various all that. Just fascinated by it all. And then they did have us kids do a little bit of meditation, and that I was a little young to get much out of it. I remember just sort of looking at the wood pattern on the wall, I gaze down with eyes open and all that. But I, to this day, really use counting my breaths 1 to 10. I that's very calming, and I use it when I meditate, which I don't meditate for 40 minutes. Like, I guess it was 40, but when I do, I use that technique, just drawing it back to my breath, just counting back to my breath. Just letting those thoughts flow away, and getting, it was so funny, getting kind of a little snotty. It's not snotty, but judgmental about these other ways of meditating, or which of course there are many, but it was a good experience. And then the fun of it is that the kids we had autonomy. Like that third summer, I met others, then Susan's children, and one of them, named Lise, was a good friend of mine. I don't know her mother's name.
Lise Audrey.
Lise?
Audrey and Bob Walter.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay. So Lise was 2 years older than me. We were like good friends, along with Lynn Warkov's daughter, Simi, one of my buddies. But Lise and I were allowed to, now I assume with some adult help, build an A-frame, not a big A-frame, but an A-frame for our, like, a little fort thing, but you could stand up in it. It was an actual building that we were allowed to construct, and we were so excited. And then some wood got stacked against the side of one of the sides, and it was sort of bending it in a little bit. And so we said to the foreman, could you please have some people, I don't know if you said please, but anyhow, remove the wood, and he said no. And then we went around, and as I wrote in my little journal, we bugged him, and we bugged him, and we bugged him until he said, okay, and we removed the wood. This was two little pesky little 8 and 10-year-old girls. We got our A-frame back in ship shape, and it was just so cool that we were allowed to do that because, it was just nice. That we weren't like, no, you just need to have just hang out and not do that. And the biggest impression, though, I have to say, David, is the Yoshida Roshi had started teaching me back in the Bay Area about the rock suit sewing. And so and I wrote down, we kids didn't have to wait 3 years to do ours. We could do ours right away. And so I was all excited about that. I don't know if adults had to wait 3 years or not. This is all just my memory. So, but in any event, this rock suit sewing, I'll never forget sitting in the sun outside and me taking it all very seriously, but enjoying the beauty of it, the precision and the symbolism, and just stitching along, and there were so many steps, as you know all this, and what was I going to say? This is so unzen of me, and then I write. And I finished mine first before all the other kids. And then I did I put the caveat in there of, well, I got a jump start in the Bay Area. In other words, many of them were starting there. So when we all finished, am I talking too much?
No.
Okay. Just
no, you can go on for hours.
Okay, I don't have that much, but I just remember the joy of finishing it, and it's cute. I have it to this day. I've moved so many times, David, and I've not lost my zafu that has the little embroidery on the side, or the rock suit, and I cherish it to this day. And so when we finished, we took a special bath, and then I braided my hair, and I put my hair up on top of my head, and Suzuki Roshi did a ceremony in the Zendo, and it was so moving. I put in here that he splashed a little water on us, and the main thing, I'm sure there was a lot more involved, but was giving us our names, our Buddhist names, and writing them on the back of the rock shoe, and along with some other things. I have no idea what it says, but my name is Junko, which I guess it is translated roughly as condensed or something, or probably what like kind of serious little thing. But anyhow, that was my name.
You can send me a scan of it.
Oh, good. I'd love to. Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I remember him doing that and just being so honored. And one of my favorite all-time pictures that I think Lynn Warkoff sent me is, there's my mom in the background looking over, and there's Suzuki Roshi reaching over me and over Minnie, Dominique, Diane DePrima's daughter, over her to do something. I don't know what he was doing, something, reaching over the children. It is just a beautiful picture, and I just cherish it so much. And yeah, so his essence was just the humility. It was just, and the wisdom. It's touched me, even though I have not been a proper, my father had a Zendo here in Santa Barbara for quite some time, but even though I'm not, especially meditating in a group of people, the whole experience has helped me in many ways, and part of it is the mindfulness and the being in the moment. That part I've taken and used, and when I walk, I do try to focus on just my steps and walking meditation and stuff. So even though, anyhow, that's how that's worked out, and I was really touched by the safety that I felt there. Just because my parents would be busy. Dad was Dawn, I think it's called, and then Mom, of course, her meditation, and she also had Phil, who was young. So we had a lot of free time. But there was no problems with any adults bugging us, if you know what I'm saying, how that can happen, or inappropriate or anything. And we were free to roam, and so it was just overall, and plenty of kids to play with. And then one of my most strong memories is finding this lizard who had been injured probably by a cat or a wild animal, and he was just lying in a bowl where my brother had put him, and he looked like he was going to die. And I went down to the first aid place, and I got some antibiotics, and I nursed him back to life. I started putting him on his wounds, this little lizard. And so he finally got well. He's running around. He was on me, I'm wrapping down my arms, and so I said, "Okay, dear, you go out and deal with it again." And he turned around, ran back to me, and ran up and sat on my shoulder. And it was just this lovely exchange of attention, help. And then the second time he did leave, but I felt the connection. And one of the biggest things from Zen that's helped me is hearing early on that we are all one. And so, at least I may be completely misquoting that, but basically that we're all one. And so it's helped me so much when I tend to get judgmental and stuff, just the connection so. And then we moved from there to, we were at Zen Center, living next to Zen Center.
You were when you say Zen Center, by then you were on Page Street. And
correct.
You all were living right next door to 300 Page, the main building, right?
Yeah, you can write my story, man. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, you were living upstairs.
Yes.
And the Katagiris were living downstairs.
Yes, and too bad for them it wasn't reversed because well, we were rambunctious and there wasn't as much TV watching, no video games back then, so there was a lot more playing and running and such. And so despite my mom and dad's efforts to settle us down, it was a little hard on them, with the noise. So we would try, they'd have TV time and we'd settle down and, to try to settle down. So, I'm only mentioning that because I, as an adult now, thinking back, I'm all, oh, shoot, I wish I would have known better to be a little more quiet. But and they, so we did work out that, and it was lovely to be right next to Zen Center, and I have some just beautiful memories of being in there and the dining room, and I can tell you a quick funny one. Do you want to hear a quick funny memory of that? It's there was a wedding, and I, of course, had never been exposed to any alcohol and didn't even know what it was. And I thought that the fruit punch I was drinking was just fruit juice. And I thought, why is this fruit punch making me feel so happy? And my cousin and I, my first cousin Wendy, I wasn't trying to be a bad girl. I was like, 8. I wasn't trying to sneak or anything. I thought, oh, lovely fruit punch, help ourselves. Well, pretty soon, I'm not kidding, under the tables, giggling, rolling around, never had touched a drop of alcohol because, of course, Mom and Dad just didn't have that in the house. And I'm not knowing why I'm so happy. I just know it's happy. And we were giggling, and Mom comes over and she puts her hands on her hips and she goes, Marty, you're drunk. And I'm like, what? She's all, you're drunk. So she had me go home after that. It's so funny. I had no idea I was, so.
That was Ed Brown and Meg Goller's wedding in July.
Oh, you know so much, David. Yeah, so Ed Brown, now, he was the baker cook gentleman, right? Didn't he, Ed Brown, do a lot of cooking, or am I getting that wrong? Yeah, phenomenal. Okay. Yeah, so that's where I got in a little trouble. But, not really. I didn't do any damage or anything. Other than maybe being a little tired the next day. And then, of course, we had no alcohol in the house, so it was like, no problem there. Yeah, and just good times over there, and beautiful. Being able to go up on the roof, we were allowed on the roof at Zen Center and seeing the view, and just running and playing, and yeah, it was really. And then, I do remember Suzuki Roshi was sick, and I believe it was one of the last. He was passing the donor on. I remember the ceremony as he was walking towards the Sento, and I was lined up with people, and he took his staff and boom down just to show his strength. But you could tell it was taking a lot of strength out of him, and he just persevered. And the power that I felt for him, even at the end there, was just phenomenal. I'll never forget it. And, of course, I may not have details correct, but I remember all of that. And just wishing he didn't have to leave us, but of course people do. And then being grateful that my parents were able to go to Santa Barbara to start a Zendo here, or help start one, I believe it was. I'm not sure, but I know it was in our home on Anasamu. And so that worked out just fine for me, settling here in Santa Barbara. And yeah, it was quite a time. of my life, and when it's influenced me all the way up to my studying nutrition. We'd have these various things we had to put on presentations. What I did the oryoki, the 3 bowls, with the whole setup with the chopsticks, and just a demonstration of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's influenced a lot, and there's funny memories of the Jehovah's Witnesses coming to our door, and my father saying, "Well, thanks for sharing, but my belief system, we don't push it on others." We keep, we don't kind of proselytize, and just try to not push it on people, and yeah. So.
Yeah, it's against the law to do that here. The Jehovah's Witnesses have gotten in trouble here.
Oh yeah, so you're in Bali, right?
Yeah, you can't go doing that here.
Oh, good. I have been to Bali years ago, and what a lovely place to settle for you. Yeah. I just, my brother Aaron, the older of the 2 boys, for a while had a golf course condo there on Bali, so I went and visited him and traveled around a little bit. So,
My.
Yeah. So, anyhow, that was all very. I'm grateful that I was able to write a few things down that I wouldn't have otherwise had. It's not been assigned in the 4th grade, and it's all pretty positive about Tassajara. The only one little negative thing I said was, well, there wasn't enough kids to play with the first summer. That was it. Otherwise, nothing negative in there. Oh, except the gruel, of course. I made them up.
Yeah.
Gruel,
Yeah.
So, yeah, but that's the beauty of reusing and not wasting.
You wrote a report on Tassajara for school. What grade was that?
It was 4th grade, and it was actually what it was we were assigned to write our autobiography. And so because I was 9 and we just had the 3 summers, it has chapters that are about Tassajara, or include Zen Center, Shire School, that's separate from Zen, but then, at the whole thing I make by 9 I was already making a big deal out of everything. So it's literally got 27 chapters. So crazy. It goes on and on. 50 pages handwritten with pictures. It was just a big deal. So that's why I carefully noted the things that I luckily I would never remember the A-frame, for example, or the crawdads and the detailed stuff in there. So, yes, it happened to be an autobiography that we were all to write and read in front of the class.
That's terrific. Now, have you continued writing and doing things like that?
I've been I do poetry. I've been focusing a lot on my artwork, which, frankly, my watercolors, some of them are really good. It's only 17 chapters, but I was 27. 46 pages. I do write some, poetry, and but I haven't written much else. And there's nothing in here that would be embarrassing to me at all. It might be maybe not that interesting to other people, but certainly, yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, we could have the whole thing. Then we could have the highlights from Tassajara, also
yes.
Our Zen Center. But I think the whole thing's cool. And well, why don't you send me some scans of your paintings? And hey, you want to read one of your poems?
Oh, I could, but I didn't. I don't have them right next to me here.
Well, go get it.
Go get it? Okay. Oh, because you can edit and stuff. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of where my writing is right now. Let's see. I think that poems would be over. Let's see. I'll see what I can find here.
I want to hear about the Shire School, too.
Shire School. Oh, yes, Shire School. Boy, was that not amazing that they started that preschool and then made it into Time magazine, huh? That's pretty amazing.
Oh, it made it into Time? Wow.
Yeah, the preschool made it into Time magazine. It's a picture of my little cousin Wendy with my dad. Yes, it's in there. It was pretty big news back then. The whole idea of, letting children guide their education.
Do you have a copy of the Time magazine article?
I think my mother does. Yes, I do believe so.
Tell me about the Shire School.
Oh, the Shire School?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the funny part, I think. So I'm in regular public school as a kindergartner, and we had a regular apartment, and they were in Dickey Square in the Bay Area, and I was getting more and more depressed, and because it was real restrictive. I was very artistic, and the art, they would spend for the art class would be cutting a piece of paper into a heart, and it was very just sort of not suffocating, what's the word, just deflating, and I was getting more and more depressed, and so they decided that, hey, we're going to start a preschool, and so I was actually taken out of the public school and then into the Shire School, which my mom would have much more accurate details on, but I do know that it was, for a while we were in, what's that name, Gold Gate Park? I think I've got the park. And we were in the park because they were having trouble finding a building for it, up to code and all that. So we moved around to different buildings, but it was where I could, still learn letters and numbers and all that stuff, but I could also draw. And it was sort of children driven, like what do you feel like doing, and which is great with a certain type of child that is super motivated. Other ones maybe not so much so, but it was a different philosophy, and I remember liking it. Certainly like being outdoors in the park, but the problem was that because it's a free school, the parents that sent the kids there weren't paying money, so then the teachers, the instructors, were not getting paid. So then, some of them ended up staying with us in our apartment. They were renting to buy in Dickey Square. And so we ended up with too many people in the apartment. It was a great concept, free school, and yet not great. The free part of the child's learning, but the financial end of it, like I said, my mom and numbers, don't go together so well. So it ended up being, that was a downfall there. But it was made Time magazine because it was like what the children kind of decide so that part, and so I don't have any bad memories, except for, unfortunately, we did have to move out of that apartment because there just got to be too many people, and so that sort of resolved that. But the school itself was great. Yeah, really
now,
got a lot out of it.
Your father wasn't he the head of it?
Well, he had the official. It really is. I'd say they were co-founders because my mother was able to teach. She taught in our next spot we went, which is Sawyer's Bar. So he taught, but she was also a teacher back then. There was a demand for them, and so even though she didn't have the exact credential, there was, I can't remember, she would know the term for it, where you're just not a student teacher, but a teacher's aide, and and so she is a natural. I remember her teaching me to read. I mean, she got me to read right away. So I would say they co-founded that.
Yeah,
together. It was their decision. Is how I remember it.
But your father was a school teacher too.
My father?
He was a school teacher, right?
Yes, by trade. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. He was. He was in the Berkeley, working in Berkeley, and that was a little tough. Just some of the troubled children and stuff, and But then we went to Sawyer's Bar, where it was wonderful because it was both Mom and he teaching in this one-room schoolhouse with about 14 kids. So that was lovely. But yes, he was a teacher. He was my teacher from half of kindergarten all the way through third grade Montessori Bay Area. So I had him the whole time, and my mom for much of it.
Well, I have a memory of the Shire School. I was working on the phone line with Alan Marlowe. I think it was the late spring, right before the guest season starts, because I ran the dining room for the first 4 years. In 1970, Alan and I were working on the phone line, and over by Arroyo Seco River, there's a camp there, like I think it was a Girl Scout camp or something like that. But it could be rented, or something from the Forest Service. And there was a Shire School camp out going on there.
Oh, really? Okay. See, that's the kind of thing we do.
Yeah. And so Alan and I had already been out for a couple of days and nights working on the phone line and camping out, and we were eating, like brown rice that we brought and making miso soup, and we were just so completely pure. And we were just full of energy. And we got there, and there was wine and pot and cheese and all sorts of heavy stuff. And we just, we enjoyed it all and spent the night. But the next day when we went out to work, we lost that light, energetic feeling. We were just trudging. It was,
mm-hmm. It's like you play, you pay, right?
Yeah. So that's otherwise, I'd hear about it, but that was my experience with it. You were probably there.
Probably, yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm. Tony was there. I don't know if, your father, Tony, Tony. I don't.
Big Tony, little Tony.
Toni, your mom. I don't remember her, but that's so long ago. It doesn't matter. Well, that's neat. So how many years did the free school go? Didn't it went more than one?
Yes, I think Mom will know more about this. That it was continued on by some other people after we left, because I know I was there for kindergarten, and then first grade I was in Sawyer's Bar. So for our stay part of it, it was short. but I believe it continued on. Yes. With maybe the word "free" be taken less literally, where people are paying. I'm not sure, but yeah. So
yeah,
we moved. Yeah.
Boy, those were the times, huh? I mean, that is so hard to comprehend. How would you
Yeah,
run a free school? I mean, you'd have to
Yeah.
get money from people. It's by donation
Yeah.
then. By just pay what you want.
Right, exactly. I don't even think that concept was there. I don't know. It was just, whoa, it was crazy. And the school itself, though, I mean, I have some darling pictures of me writing, and yeah, I mean, I was thriving in that setting because I was quite self-motivated, and so it worked well for me, along with other things like Montessori and the one-room school, how, the different things worked fine for me. So, yeah. So I do some writing. I haven't done a lot of poems lately, but I do have a couple if we want to do that. Or
Yeah, let's hear that.
Okay. Yes. Okay, great. This one's about my horse. I lost that. It says, "Little Rondi, spirit talking to you. I know they come, not like some mist floating through. No, their voices are thoughts piercing my skull. I weep at their closeness, touching me now. Longing to go, I know I must wait. One will come and show me the way. Back to my star boy. I long for his touch. Velvety nose brushing my cheek. We'll gallop wild and free. No bit in his mouth or saddle beneath. My faith pulls me through. He's nibbling and breathing heaven's sweet air. Faith and sound. No cares or concerns. He'll wait for me there." That's my end. I love my horse a lot. He died. So.
Oh, that's interesting. That the podcast I put up that last weekend. I put one up every weekend. Was with the poetess Jane Hirschfield, and one of her poems was about her horse that had just died. I assume she read a number of poems, but she also talked about her horse. So I'm not sure if she read a poem now about it, but her horse had died, and it had lived near Green Gulch Farm.
Green Gulch, you're kidding me. Oh. Yeah.
And it died at 32.
Oh, well, that's quite, as you know, a long time for a horse. So lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, she must, the bonding that must be there, yeah. Yeah, so.
Did you ever go to Green Gulch?
I believe I did, yes. I don't have any real vivid memories.
Yeah.
But I just remember, we went to Green Gulch. And there was one place we went where there was a famous restaurant. Oh, gosh, I can't remember. It was one of the
Green's Restaurant.
Yeah.
In San Francisco. Yeah. I was the host, the maitre d' there for the first 2 years.
Oh, were you?
And a co-manager. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Quite an
yeah.
experience.
I remember that.
So you all probably came in the first 2 years, and I probably seated you, and we had a good time together.
Probably. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, thank you so much. I mean, I've got more time, but just thank you so much for the interest in, what child's point of view, and it's really cool.
Yeah. Well, let me ask. just before we sign off here,
Sure.
All right, so your Zen Center days came to an end.
Yes, there's some Zen groups here, but
in Santa Barbara.
Yes, in Santa Barbara, yeah, like the whole when Dad got cancer and stuff. Not like his Zen Center is the only one or anything, but that part of it drifted away because he had to sell the house and he ended up passing away. But
well, that was much later.
Yes, but I'm talking. I thought you were talking about now. Like
no, I meant like when you were living at Page Street.
Oh, there. Okay, sorry. Yes.
And but at some point that came to an end.
Yes, they decided to go from Tassajara to Santa Barbara. There was a need for a Zen Center being started down here, and there was somebody by the name of Boyd and Krista I have written down that were talking Mom and Dad into coming, and Mom and Dad kept saying, no, we're going to move to Berkeley, and then they said, no, check out Santa Barbara, and so eventually we ended up Santa Barbara, 1971, I think. Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I was 9. So, yes. So, in that, we found a suitable house that I am literally living just on the same street, Anapamu, just on the other end of it. So, yes.
You're living on the same street, but a different house? Yep. A different house?
Different house. Yes, I'm lucky I have an apartment in Santa Barbara, which isn't easy. I'm very lucky. But yeah, it's right down the street from this huge house that I remember we paid $300 a month. I was all into math back then. $300 a month for this huge house with a separate in-law quarter for my grandma. It was just like, oh my gosh, $300, and so huge yard and good memories there and good Zen Center, and so. So
what was was it called the Santa Barbara Zen Center or what?
I think so, yeah. So what happened was around that time, Mom and Dad got divorced when I was 11. And so, but and Mom went to follow Katagiri Roshi in Minnesota briefly. But Dad had good luck with the ladies and found a wonderful wife, and they moved the Zen Center up to a house that they got in Mission Canyon. So the Zen Center continued, but just switched locations. And so, there was a good room in there with hardwood floors that they could have their Zen every weekend, yeah.
So he got remarried?
Yes, he did. Yes, when I was 11, he got remarried. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. But he continued running the Zen Center there. Yes,
he did. Yeah, she was my stepmom. She was a doll, and she was more into. She had a yoga teacher. It's kind of a spiritual thing, but she was open to it. And yeah, he every week, and the little sign would come out and they'd rake. They do. It kind of brings back some emotion. They would rake the path, kind of like something that might happen at Tassajara, to just smooth it all out and make sure the floors were pristine and the softwood and the mats were out, and there was a little donation box, but basically it was, of course, anybody could just come and they did some instructions, and so it was a continuity, and I did meditate occasionally with them, and when I've been in and out of Santa Barbara, but back here since 2003, so he did that consistently, which was good. He meditated. My mom's been a good meditator for keeping up with that, and that's one thing I have to say about my dad. He continued with that, and I think it really helped him just all around, Yeah. So, yeah, that was that. And, yeah.
So, Toni left, your mother left and went to Minnesota. Well, that must have been sort of hard on you. You were...
Well, I went with her, my little big brother. She took, the baby. Aaron was at a good father-son age, so he stayed here in Santa Barbara. And then we went to Minnesota, and that was hard moving. But see, I've been used to moving a lot my whole life. And so it was sort of like, here we go, moving again. But, it was a little tough. It was 11th, 5th grade. I had freedom in school. Started here, went there, and then. But we stayed there a year, and then it just wasn't the right fit for her. So she came back here to Santa Barbara, and it was just a little.
And when she came back, then you were close to both parents.
Yeah, I was close to both parents, right?
Yeah.
And they did the co-parenting, where I had a room, stay with my dad, and then part of the time with my mom. So it worked out. That was right around junior high.
Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm.
That's.
Yeah. So.
That's a very normal. That's the way I'd say half the marriages go in America.
Yeah, I know exactly. Isn't that what the rate is? Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, in America, you're so used to people splitting up and sharing the upbringing of the kids, and usually still getting along. Fairly well. And then I moved to Japan, and I would find it was really sad. Couples would break up, the father would leave, and never see the kids again.
Oh, how sad.
Oh, and I had to deal with, I was teaching kids. I had to deal with some especially boys that had lost their fathers, and it was really taking a big effect on them. There were exceptions.
Devastating, yeah. Unless they have a good father figure stepping in there.
Yeah. They had an extremely low divorce rate in Japan. So it wasn't like in America where it's like half the couples are breaking up.
Yes, because, we'll just do, Right. My brother Aaron actually is married to a Japanese wife and living in Guam right now, and they will be, when the kids are out of high school, moving to Japan, I believe. So, that's the one that's 14 months younger than me. So, Japan is beautiful. I've only been there once, and I don't remember a lot, but I just remember the bathhouses, and I forget what they're called. I forget what they're called.
Bathhouses, God. Let's see.
Something.
Sento.
Yeah.
Sento.
Yeah. So just, wow, you've lived all over. Cool.
Yeah.
And then it's just so great. You're part. I just want to say, Kibi Suzuki Roshi, memories alive. You've got. Thank goodness people recorded his lectures and the beautiful writings that you've done, and this is very important. And I'm excited. My mom's reflections, because she was so taken with them and devoted that I think they'll be a very nice addition to have on there.
Yeah. Well, one thing I've asked her to do is to read the whole book, and I'm going to record it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, that would be lovely.
She said she'd do it. We'll just have a call. It's not that long. Right. It should.
That would be lovely. Her voice. Yeah. People could hear parts or whatever. And I'm not sure. Yeah.
So we'll have it transcribed. we'll have it scanned, and we'll have her reading it.
It'd be great. Thank you so much, because I was very disappointed that I understood that there was reasons that it, couldn't be a book at that point or whatever. But I, of course, wanted, have it out there for people, because I thought there was some. I haven't read it in a while, but I thought there was some particularly poignant parts to it. So that's exciting for her, I'm sure, too.
Yeah. Well, I'd appreciate your helping, because, like you said, you said the funniest thing in your email. You said that you help her with, her tech. You're like her tech support, and you said that she'd call you and say her computer wasn't working, and you'd come over and plug it in or recharge it or something.
Yep, exactly. And so, I'm pretty tech. I'm below average on tech stuff, but hey, when I come to her house, I'm the tech working. So,
how did the rest of your life go from there to now? Has it been all right?
Oh, well, yeah, it's been a wild ride in terms of moving around, but I settled in Reno, had a good career there, and then back here, and was so grateful to be able to spend time, to end up back here in Santa Barbara when the VA was a little, I had too many patients, let's put it that way, like double the patients, so I ended up back here, which was great, because I didn't know that my stepmom was going to be passing in 2011, and I was very close to her. And then it also, of course, close to my mom now again. Geographically, I always have been emotionally, and then my dad dying. So it was good to get to spend time here with them instead of just every now and then from Reno. And then I've only been married once. And it's a little sad, but a dear man that he had that I'd known for 5 years, and we were dating for a while, and then he got glioblastoma, which is the worst kind of brain tumor you could get, and so we got married, and I'd never been married before, and I was in my mid-50s, and it was beautiful, but we knew that it would just be a matter of months. So sure enough, 4 months later, he died. So but I have beautiful memories of him. Yeah. So, and I was able to give him, the gift of someone really loving him. So, so basically, I've been most of my life. I've been, I haven't been married. I've had partners, but. And then a career, and I did volunteer work, lots of volunteer work with Wildlife Care Network, and that was really great. And some stuff is limited in what I can do volunteer-wise. So, but it's been a mixed life, and
well,
trucking along here.
There's an assumption that people have in our culture, and certainly in others, that people who get married and have kids, especially, let's say, women who get married and have kids, are happier. But it's not true. Women who don't get married and or don't have kids, the results on like happiness tests are sometimes better than those.
Right.
It's
very important. That's interesting.
Yeah.
For me, I just knew that I was wanting. I had nieces and nephews, and I knew that there'd be parents to take care of, and just keep myself well. And I had a short period of time in my 30s where I thought I'd have kids, and I'm like, no kids. So, but there's so many other ways to give love, and about being a good aunt. I keep hearing again, "You're a good aunt," because I make sure I don't miss any birthdays or Christmases. So go visit them and such. So anyhow,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, It's been great talking with you. You have an excellent memory, and you had an excellent delivery. I mean, you did very well. I appreciate it.
You.
You know.
Well, you just let me talk and ask questions to direct me. It was perfect.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you.
Yeah.
And I'll be in touch.
You know, I could tell when she's writing, she's not thinking that we can actually scan it and include the graphics that are in it. Because she mentioned, oh, well, it's too bad you can't see what Suzuki Roshi drew there. Well, we can.
She's so cute.
Yeah.
She's so cute. She's tech challenged. Yeah.
And
more than me even.
Yeah. She also asked, I said, well, why don't I call you up and you read it? And then she said, but how will people hear it?
I know. I tried to explain the podcast thing. It's so cute. I tried to explain. I said, listen, I just heard him. I heard him reading Suzuki Roshi. I said, I tried. So I need to get over and show her that. Yeah, she's adorable. So.
Now, her podcast hadn't gone up.
Yeah. No, at that point, no. This was just. I just checked it out because she was saying, "Now, how do we get on there? Not to see hers, but just she doesn't understand podcasts in general." And I said, "Well, I don't know a lot, but I'm sure I could figure out."
Okay. Well.
Okay.
Wonderful talking with you. That's very good. And
yeah, you're so easy to talk to. So, all right.
Well,
okay.
Very good.
So we'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks so much. Take care.
Okay. You too.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
So thanks a lot, Rhonda. Rhonda Johansen Karzag. That was really great. Really appreciate it. Now, we're going to hang up and call you back a month later or whenever. And you're going to read your autobiography and talk afterwards, talk about it a little. It just starts right off with no introduction or reading it. Okay?
My name is Rhonda Johansen Karzag, formerly Rhonda Johansen. And in the fourth grade, we had an assignment, autobiography. And I had just finished my third summer at Tassajara. And so sections of it refer to Tassajara and Zen Center and my experience there. And so I'd like to share that with everybody who might be interested. The part that starts with Tassajara is actually chapter 12. So
wow.
It's titled, what? I know, I was pretty thorough. I'm like 60 pages or something, but not to read tonight. So it's titled, What Tassajara Actually Is. To get to Tassajara, you have to go over bumpy mountains on an even bumpier road. Tassajara is located in Carmel Valley. It is a place for people belonging to the Zen religion to stay and practice Zen. It is a nice place to be because it is quiet. The students pay $3.50 a day, and for their kids, it's $1.50. In the summer, Tassajara is a guest resort, and for the people of the Zen religion. When you come as a guest, you have to pay about $14 to $32 per person, but it's worth it. Every morning, all the guests would have the cabin girls make their beds. They would also get their towels and soap changed. At 8:45 a.m., one of the cooks would ring a bell to tell the guests that in 15 minutes breakfast would be served. The guests would have plenty of time. They had to walk up a hill a little way and down a little slope through some bamboo and into a building that looked like a restaurant. It had long tables with red tablecloths on them. I'd like to help set the tables, but it was sort of frustrating because everything had to be so perfect. Every morning I would get up at 7 a.m. That was when we ate breakfast. The students' food wasn't the greatest, so luckily my mother arranged for me and my brothers and some of the other kids to have guest food, but we didn't get to eat in the guest dining room. We got to eat on the back porch of the kitchen. Almost every day I went swimming in the pool. Every 5 days we got to go down to a swimming hole. It was a mile away. The swimming hole was called the Narrows. It was 20 feet deep and not very wide. It also had a little waterfall that was fun to slide down. In the Narrows, there were trout and crawdads. Luckily, the crawdads were mostly on the bottom. By the repair shop, there was a small camper. A man was trying to get rid of it, so he sold it to my parents for $10 because the only thing he was using it for was to keep his motorcycle in. We had been looking for a trailer for several months. Chapter 14, our next summer. The next summer, we went to Tassajara again. Things were very similar to the summer before, except our cabin was much smaller and our meal system was different. My Nana came to visit us for 2 weeks. The night before coming, she stayed in San Francisco with my aunt. Her suitcases were in her car, parked in front of my aunt's apartment. When she was ready to leave in the morning, her suitcases had been stolen. The only clothes she had left were the ones she was wearing. When she arrived at Tassajara, my mother took her to the Goodwill bins and they found some clothes for her to wear. In chapter 15, we moved to San Francisco. We brought our animals to Tassajara. On the way back, we lost Flora, our cat. When we opened the door, we thought she had gotten out. We called her for an hour and we also drove around, but we couldn't find her. Finally, we gave up. We got to San Jose. That was where my Nana lived. We stayed at her house. The first person to get out of the car was Flora. She had been under the seat of the car the whole time. After we said goodbye, we went to San Francisco. The Zen Center of San Francisco already had a place for us to live in. We rented it from them. It was an upper flat. I had the front room. After a few weeks, another family came to live with us. So Lise, the daughter, and I had the back room because it was much bigger. Lise and I got along very well together. She was 10 and I was only 8. Lise could draw much better than I could. Her pictures were like stories. At night, we would look out the window and read all the light up advertisement. We would go up to the top of Zen Center and swing in the hammock. We would look down. Zen Center is 4 stories high. On one side, there is a courtyard that we could slide in because we didn't have to go through Zen Center to get to it. I also had another friend. Her name was Hillary. My other friend, Minnie, lived close by as well. She had moved in while I was in Tassajara the second summer. All of my friends that lived around Zen Center belonged to the Zen religion. I went to a private school. Hillary also went to the same private school. It was called San Francisco Montessori School. Lise couldn't afford the Montessori school. She went to Shire School. They had found a building for sale and bought it. Minnie went to another private school. It was much more strict. And then there's pictures, but here's the way Zen Center looks, and then the view from the roof, and a picture of me getting into my kendo outfit, which is, of course, separate.
Oh, yeah, that's neat. That's neat.
I enjoyed it a lot. So, moving along to this, okay. Here we go, chapter 17. Our third summer at Tassajara, we brought our guinea pigs and Chloe, our dog. Flora had gotten hit by a car and our neighbors buried her. My father and I built a cage for the guinea pigs. It actually wasn't a cage. It was a pen with a top. We kept them outside. We had a cabin right next to the cabin we had the first year. It had 3 rooms in it. It didn't have a kitchen and no living room. What it did have was a bedroom for my brother and I, and another bedroom for my parents and Philip, my baby brother, plus a bathroom. Maybe that size of house doesn't seem big enough for 5 people, but it was. When you stay at Tassajara, all you need a house for is to sleep in, because we ate in the summer school and we spent most of our time outdoors. A family lived in back of the school. The mother, Lynn, was the head of the school. My mother also worked there. Lynn had a nice daughter, Cindy, and a son who was named Aaron, the same name as my brother. It was their first summer at Tassajara. They lived in the same cabin we lived in the first summer we visited. This year, we ate student food at school. It was nice because there weren't so many flies. Since the student meals weren't very filling, the kids got to have a snack after we did our jobs. The snacks were cake, cookies, or something like that. Kids would get picked to go to the kitchen and help make tea with a man named Jeff at 3 o'clock. Leaf came to Tassajara. I played with her more than anyone else. She stayed in the cabin across from ours. Leaf and I built an A-frame by the Goodwill. While we were gone, some people stacked up wood on the side of it. We were mad because the sides were sagging in. Leaf and I complained to the work foreman of Tassajara, but he wouldn't do anything. Finally, we made him have men take it down. We made him by bugging him a lot. We went to the Goodwill to get some things for our A-frame afterwards. All the kids got to make roxus. A roxu is part of what you wear if you are in the Zen Buddhism religion. Grown-ups had to be in Zen Buddhism for 3 years, but the kids could make one right away. I started mine in San Francisco. I made my roxu the way the grown-ups did. A lady Roshi named Yoshida Roshi helped me with my roxu. 3 seconds. Mine was done first because I started it in San Francisco. After all the kids finished theirs, we all took a special bath. I put my hair up. We all went to the Zendo. Suzuki Roshi led the ceremony. He splashed water over our heads and other things. Almost everybody came. Suzuki Roshi gave all the kids Buddhist names. He wrote them in Japanese on the back of our roxus. My Buddhist name is Junko. My brother Aaron found a lizard that had been caught by a cat and had gotten away. My brother put him in an ashtray. He showed him to me. I held him in the sun and rubbed him all over. I went down to the school and got some medicine. I put it on his sores. He got much better. When I let him go around the cabins, he ran right back up on my shoulders. And then the next time I let him go, he laughed. My father went over to Berkeley to find a house for us. Sometimes our whole family went. We wanted a house by the Berkeley Zendo. We looked and looked, but we couldn't find a house. A man named Boyd and a lady named Krista asked my parents if they would come and live in Santa Barbara and help with the Zen Buddhism religion in Santa Barbara. My parents said that it sounded like a good idea, but we're going to go to Berkeley. The next time they visited Tassajara, Boyd and Krista kept trying to get my parents to come to Santa Barbara. Finally, my parents agreed. We moved to Santa Barbara. First, we stayed at my uncle's and aunt's house to pick up the things that we didn't need at Tassajara. First, we stopped there. Boyd and Krista looked for a house. So by the time we got to Santa Barbara, they had a house already for us. We got to move right in. They got us quite a large home on 333 East Anaheim Street, which had room for people to come and visit. And it's the end of the section that has anything to do, with Tassajara and the whole Zen experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so neat. That is so great. You did that back in the fourth grade, but also that you kept it and that you have shared it with us now. Really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. I'm 61. It's an amazing amount of times I've moved that I have, and I've always cherished it. And there's a few little pictures in there, and it brings back, the closeness that I felt. And the one picture of Suzuki Roshi in the ceremony when he's reaching over my braided hair to put water or whatever on the child behind me. I mean, I can just feel, it just brings me right back. And it was, I may have been young, but I really got a lot out of it, out of the whole. Well, we had so much fun playing, but out of the whole Roxu sewing, obviously I had a bit of ego involved there. But anyhow, that whole process and the ceremony and the bath, and it was very meaningful, and I just cherished those times.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. Well, that was a unique time at Zen Center with all those kids together at Tassajara, and with the parents who, well, at least some of the parents, it's not all of them, it's some of them who wanted to create, wanted to include them in the practice in some way that was meaningful to them.
Yes, right.
The Zen Center was always short on that sort of thing.
Prior. Uh-huh.
It was the opposite from trying to indoctrinate kids.
Yes, well, right. To go, I guess, because I remember years later, the Jehovah's Witnesses would come to my father's door when he was remarried, and they would be pushing, and he would say, well, actually, my beliefs are that we don't push on, and then you're not going to proselytize others. So he was polite, but he's I'm sorry, this isn't going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah. You know what I do to Jehovah's Witnesses? I'd start asking them questions because they're totally literal.
Yes.
Their beliefs, and they're unlike other American. The four main American forms of sort of Christian type religion were Jehovah's Witnesses, the Mormons, Christian Science, and that sort of thing, and
Yes.
Seventh-day Adventists. And the Seventh-day Adventists they accept other Christians, you know. Jehovah's Witnesses say everybody else is going to hell.
Right? And they only have a certain number of slots, is my understanding, available in heaven, so I'm not quite sure how the math works out, but that's hard.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. But the Mormons is the opposite. The Mormons see the universe as infinite, and every Mormon couple gets a planet after they pass on. And this is Earth is Jesus's planet, and God and His wife live on another planet, and they have a home with.
You're kidding.
You know, they keep canned food and stuff stocked, waiting for when God comes to visit. Pretty literal.
Yeah, I take
wow.
that.
Wow.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, that's something. I grew up in the sort of Christian Science, other New Thought Christianity world, and we didn't talk about hell or anything. It was all like about mind and, I mean, we thought
intellectual.
No, it wasn't intellectual. Well, I guess it was intellectual in a way, but beyond intellect, it was sort of like big mind. It you know, which Suzuki talked about. It was based on absolute mind, which incorporates everything. So it was very influenced by Buddhism and Hinduism, and it just thought people in other religions just believed a lot of nonsense. I don't feel that way anymore. You know, you can find a lot of profound, sincere, beyond literal understandings and practices and different types of religion that seems to be just literal, but you know, that's just. I asked my father. I said, "Why was like we just read New Testament stuff and then had ways of interpreting it, it being about the nature of mind, right?" I asked, "Why wasn't it written more explicitly, just saying the way things are?" He said, "Because it wouldn't have lasted. Because people have to, you know, believe in things." And, Well. Yeah. Anyway, that's really great that you've done this and shared it with us, and I appreciate it.
Thank you for all your, you know, keeping it alive all these years, and you know, really helping people. I mean, when I look at my beginner's mind, the photo of Suzuki Roshi on the back, I'm emotional to this day of humility, beauty, and wisdom of that man. You know, not to put him up on a pedestal, but he was so humble, and that's what I loved about him. And the humor. Yeah. I mean, I even, and I don't have a great childhood. I mean, my childhood was fine, but I don't have a great memory of my childhood. But I remember that, you know, the connection and being there when he was back at Zen Center, and I think he was going to pass the Dharma. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but him walking along with the stick, you know, I remember that pounding along on the way, you know. Yeah. And it really made a huge influence, and I was very grateful to him and everyone for the, you know, that wonderful to help my parents a lot, you know. It's always good for kids, right? So anyhow, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, my pleasure indeed. Okay. Yeah. Well, Thanks a lot. Incidentally, with the I just put up, the podcast last weekend was your mother, Toni Weisberg.
Oh boy, I listened to that. You guys really. I thought it was excellent both ways, back and forth. And just the way you directed questions, and I think she did lovely. So
yeah. Well, that was 2 weeks ago. It was her turn. Then a week ago was her reading her notebook that she made with Suzuki Roshi. And I suggested that people could read the transcription of it while they listen to her. And I'm going to do that because yours is now online too. And your handwriting is very legible.
Okay. Yes, went over it with a pen to make sure, otherwise it would not happen. So,
yeah.
Good. I'm glad.
And there's those pictures too that you mentioned.
Right.
Yeah, those photographs.
Yes.
Okay. Well.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you, and let me know what else, if there's anything you need.
Okay, will do.
Oh, okay. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow, so thanks a lot for reading that. That was great. I really appreciate it. Rhonda Johansen Karzag, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for talking with us and for reading the notebook. And you all sent some great pictures. Just go to Toni Johansen's page and you can see the pictures and read Toni's notebook and hear her podcast. It's quite a picture of the early days. And Toni, she was quite a helpful source for Crooked Cucumber in talking about the early days at the Los Altos Endo. Okay, that's good. This has been a Cuke audio podcast. I'm DC Puba of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, coming to you from sleepy Sanur with Doggett Bandita, guest Doggett Bumbita, new feline Manis, and dear lovely Katrinka. And we're wishing you and yours and all of us a grand awakening.